Hey everybody, ready for part 2 of our series on the worst deadly sins of chess. In the first one we looked at simply not using the time that is given to you, which is a life lesson in itself as well. And we're going to look at the very common one, and I have to give credit to Grandmaster Simon Williams for coming up with this phrase, premature attackulation. As you can see in this game here, I was completely all over my opponent and completely and utterly blew it. How, you're wondering, Hunty, did you manage to blow such an amazing lead? Well, let me show you, right? It's simply by being a complete arsehead and making a very, very bad strategic decision. So look, I'll take you through up to the main point. He plays the Owen's defense, right, which is I mean, it's okay. It's like, basically, it's the Queen's Bishop Fianchetto is the idea. So I grab the centre, as offered. He fianchettos the bishop, knight comes out, now he plays e6. So he's playing quite close to his chest here. Knight comes out, I bring out my bishop, to add a second defender to this pawn. Bishop comes out, pinning my knight, which effectively removes one of the defenders of this pawn here. So I need to do something about that. So Queen e2 adds a third defender. So now if he wants to take this knight, that's fine. I'll recapture with a b pawn, happy days. He does take, I recapture with a b pawn, and happy days ensue. So I quite like this situation. I'm not uncomfortable about this at all. I don't really mind having an isolated pawn on the edge of the board. It's not the end of the world. I now have a backup c pawn that I can use maybe to push and then capture towards the centre, and reinstate my pawn structure. Now having made a b pawn into a central pawn, that's all okay. So he castles. I push on with e5, trying to disturb this knight. But also, if you see here, this bishop currently has very little scope, only looking up that side of the board. That's not where I want to be. I want to be down that side of the board where the king is. So knight moves away, now attacking this pawn which is undefended. So most common obvious move there, most natural, bishop d2. Defend the pawn and keep the bishop looking down here. Putting the bishop here would not have been good because it's just staring at the back of the heads of this dark square pawn chain. So now he pushes with a slight kind of break in the middle. Does he want to capture my pawn? Do I want to capture his? Well, this is one of those cases where you say, look, if I capture his and he recaptures, then he's got two central points, I only have one. On the other hand, if I ignore, let him capture, I can capture with my knight, and I've got a knight in the centre, and all ready to back up my attacking ideas. I castle, he takes, my knight takes. Right? This is nice now. His defensive knight has abandoned his post. My queen is threatening to come in like here with, or maybe not there, or here, checkmating ideas. I've got both bishops engaged. I've got a semi-open file here for my rook, or my rook, one of my rooks might come to e1. Nothing wrong with this picture at all. He brings out a knight, wanting to dislodge my knight. I bring out my queen. And so now he doesn't actually have time to do this because I have checkmate in one threat. So he has to push g6. So I slide back. He takes my knight, I recapture. Now this is kind of good for him because it potentially opens up this bishop. So I would love to be able to put something on that square. No, I can't really because it's not a pawn, is it? That's unfortunate. But, I might just push f3 at some point. So it's I think this has definitely helped black by opening up this bishop. So he pushes c5. I now have doubled isolated pawns on the c file. I come in with my bishop now harassing his rook. There's only one thing that his rook can really do, which is escapes there. But I don't actually have an imminent coup de grace at this point in time. I'd love to get my queen through this square to here, but I can't right now because of that knight. Maybe I'll kick the knight. Maybe I'll put my bishop there. Ideas. So I now move my bishop to b5 and hit the rook again. And now what's he going to do? He's going to put his rook here. Can't block with the bishop, he just loses his bishop. So rook goes to e7. And now, I think maybe I should have just played this move. Pinning the rook, right? Pawn takes, I've got even pawn takes, and this is a very good position. So this is now getting to the point where I'm 5, 6, 7, 8 in front. Although material is equal, it's white all the way according to the engine. So we are due a complete foot in the face situation, right? I play rook a to d1 with the idea of pinning this knight. Okay, rather than going for the immediate attack here, or the pin on the rook. But this is not great because the knight is defended twice and the queen can just slide off. So the queen just slinks away to c7, and what's left of my attack? Well, and now I no longer have this. So I think that was a little bit dumb. Now I hit the knight anyway, knight comes around to here, now forking two pawns, which is a pain, so I counterattack the rook. He takes a pawn, and for some reason I didn't take the rook. Why didn't I just take the rook? I thought for 7 seconds and didn't... Ah, right, okay. It's because I'm thinking of this. I'm thinking I've got an unstoppable mate unless he plays h5, right? But this is good. This was a good move by my opponent, right? He's not really attacking this bishop. He wants to put his knight here and defend this square. So I push now g4 to prevent his knight from coming here. Now, this is the point at which I blow the game, right? And this is why it's premature attackulation. I'm thinking only about my own attack. Okay? It's a blitz game, and one of the problems with blitz is that it can get you far too much on the front foot and forget to play a balanced game. You forget not to lose. It's very easy in blitz, right? So I'm thinking, this is all I'm thinking about. All that's on my mind is this checkmate. My opponent's got 2 minutes on the clock, but it's a 5+5. There's an increment here. Now, what is the big problem with... I mean, there's a few problems with this move, but there's one massive problem with this move. Can you see what it is? Pause if you need to. Okay, well, fundamentally, I've just opened up black's bishop, which was horrible and is now awesome. And that bishop is now covering these two squares. And they happen to be the only two squares where my king could possibly move. Plus, there's knight e2. Check, mate. He actually had mate in 1. He had mate in 1. I go from almost 9 in front with this one sloppy move, right, to blundering mate in 1. Now he doesn't notice. He comes in and does this and forces me away. Now he can win my queen because he's got a discovered check by the bishop. Okay, so he can come here and win my queen. The only option is for the queen to block, and there's some messing around, and then he beats me, right? Now, let's look quickly at the review again, and this is just absolutely ghastly, right? But very simple point here. So let's look at the big blunders. Bishop here is actually a blunder. I missed a really nice but hard to find move, right? Let's have a quick look. Oh, what? Bishop takes h7. And if king takes, is this... Oh, it's a classic Greek gift. King takes, check. If the king retreats here, I've got queen in here and it's unstoppable, right? King actually has to come here. Ah, classic Greek gift. And I missed it. I was only thinking this morning, I need to start remembering when the Greek gift pattern appears, and it just appeared, and off it went. Anyway, so So that was one blunder. Then we had, this wasn't great. Rook a d1 is a mistake from this point. And yeah, I think we've identified that. I think this was maybe better. Computer says, oh, c4, defending the bishop, attacking the knight. Interesting. So that c4 would have had me +4. What about this move? Good. +2. But not as good as c4. Okay, that's interesting. So back to the review. And then, of course, looks like there's... Okay, and that's a great move. So I did play c4 on the next turn, which is fine. But then this blunder. So, with that, and I should have just lost the game on the spot. So the point of all of this is not to say, oh, aren't I, silly, aren't I a sinner, right? The point of this is to identify the flaw that is innate in being a human being and not a silicon fish, that leads us to get overexcited and over-emotional, and not enough like a monk. We need to be approaching chess with a more Spock-like, monk-like attitude, where you treat every position and every move with the same balance of aggression if aggression is due, caution if caution is appropriate, right? So complete awareness and almost dispassionate logical kind of frame of mind. This was just ridiculous because I had it's got me at plus 8.8 here, right? So 94 was bad. So why was that bad? Because I should have taken. Oh wow, that's an even simpler idea. Oh, that's insane. Yeah, because if I simply eradicate the knight, he can't recapture, and that would have been a brilliant move. Because if he recaptures, that would be a blunder. Or a mistake. Because it's mate in 2. And then queen in here and there's nothing you can do. Oh, a really, really good idea. So I think what happened here, it wasn't just that I was prematurely attacking. I also didn't break down the problem properly enough and really reduce it to its lowest or simplest form, right? The idea was, how can I stop the knight getting to that square? Right? And I think the only thing I thought of was probably g4. And I never thought that I could simply capture the knight with my rook. Very, very interesting. And of course the computer spotted it because that's what the computer does, right? So, interesting stuff. So the point is here that you should never forget rules 1 and 2 of Chess Club, which is my king safe? And number 2, seriously, is my king safe? Because that was just such an appalling idea. I'm moving a pawn in front of my king, which is a very committal thing to do. And I'm doing it for quite a half-hearted reason. Because my opponent could just have played that, maybe, at this point in time. I don't know. It's going to call it a missed win, yeah. Because knight e2 checkmate is best. But, no, actually, it's still got white plus 10 at this point. But the key thing to take away is, do not fall into the deadly and grave sin that is premature attackulation, right? Don't only think about attack, attack, attack. You're allowed to attack in chess. Attacking in chess is great, attacking in chess works, right? But it has to be a convincing attack. You have to be able to finish off your opponent, right? There's no point going in with your sword above your head only to have a dagger shoved in your guts, which is exactly what happened here. So you can't, sometimes if you have figured out that your attack will be final and lethal, then go for it, right? But I didn't think this one through. I threw a pawn up the board in the hope that my opponent wouldn't find the best moves. And my opponent found better moves. Not the best one, because he could have just mated me on the spot. But there you go. So, it's what do we need to do? We need to say to ourselves on every single term, in every single game, what is the right thing to do here? Is attacking the right thing? Is defending the right thing? What is most critical in this position? Should I be improving my pieces? Should I be trying to constrain my opponent and his ideas? Right? That's the key thing. If all you think about is attack and just go all gung-ho, then you're going to find your guts all over your shoes and it won't be a happy day. So avoid this particular sin, everybody, and always remember this one simple tip, right? Cut that shit out. Okay? Cut that shit out. Right? We're not going to waste the time that is given to us, and we're not going to go only all balls out attacking all the time, because we're going to end up with intestines on our polished shoes, and that won't be fun. Okay, so that's all I've got to say. I'm going to get back to redecorating my office, so things are going to look a bit different around here very soon. Thanks for watching. See you later.